Mr. Schroeder, while the SBIR has proven beneficial to early stage growth, the process itself can make it hard to develop products because of delays. Can you offer any recommendation as to how to alleviate some of the pinch points that people face?
I really think it's a corporate culture that has to be evolved. I think you have to look at it as you're on Shark Tank. And when you're on Shark Tank, I think we're honored to have your funding. And while this topic of the SBIR might be a particular focus, we as a company have to make sure that we're spending the money in a way that you would be proud. And that proud doesn't include just looking at the technology today, but spending those resources to productize the technology in a way that goes beyond the 2 or 4 or 6 people that you're talking to originally. And so it's challenging as research engineers, et cetera, to literally take the scope of what might have originally been defined in a topic of an SBIR phase 1 or whatever, and think that to commercialize it, we're going to have to expand that scope. And when we expand that scope, it's going to broaden us to other customers, and those customers will be able to use that product maybe in a slightly different manner than what it was originally envisioned to be. But I give you the equivalent of if we were Microsoft and we were all using Microsoft Word at some point in time, what's going to happen is if you want a better spell checker, how would you like to be the only organization that pays for that change? That doesn't work. What you have to do is diversify that increase in capability across a broader audience. And you need to have that focus when you start the phase 1 and phase 2 SBIR.
Okay. Thank you very much for that answer.
Can you talk a little bit about, and if any of the others want to add in after him, that'd be great, about how the SBIR program allows companies to take risks on technologies they believe in, but might not have the financial wherewithal to work on it.
It really is, I go back to the Shark Tank aspect. We're fortunate to have resource dollars associated with it that we can take the risk of hiring those STEM people into engineering and scientific aspects and not be afraid of failing on a technological approach. We look at failure on a technology basis as just an opportunity to learn what doesn't work so that we can move to the next aspect. When you're doing that on Department of Defense funding aspect, that's very challenging. You don't want to use their money in a way that is hesitant or that they would be disappointed by. But when you're doing that with an SBIR program and the SBIR dollars, as long as you learn from that and adapt your technology to deal with those, under that aspect, you are really given an opportunity to succeed. And once you get past those, I'll call them the valleys, the challenges, the technological breakpoints, and you adapt, I think you then have a much stronger technology that hopefully you can ripple throughout the rest of the organization. So for us, the SBIR program is unlike any other aspect that we've dealt with. It gives you the opportunity to take the risk, fail until you succeed.
To piggyback on that, is there any opportunities to advance on others' failures? I'm a gearhead, and I like the history of Ferrari, and Mr. Ferrari actually never built a car. He just built a wonderful 12-cylinder engine and had other people build his bodies, but he watched as other race cars would end up crashing, and then he would find out what they did and then innovate on it, and so he didn't have those same catastrophes.
I certainly think there's a lot of that. We talk about, in our case, maybe he talked to people and figured out his bodies and the cars weren't the best, but we oftentimes use the concept of we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Sometimes we have to use them in that proportion. The key is listening to what the customers need and then adapting. And when you start off, to be fair, when you think you understand, let's take a phase 1 SBIR topic, it's a 1-page description. For you to imply that you truly understand what they think is the problem is at best a little speculative. So the most important thing you can do in a phase 1 or phase 2 program is just to sit down and listen and describe to them what you think you've heard them say. Let them get a chance to reiterate it. Go talk to others that are similar to them so that you end up finding out more and more about what the real problem is, which is way more valuable than the actual topics and the descriptions that come out of the system.
The district that I represent is one of the most diverse districts in the country. I have over 150 languages spoken. In one of my cities, almost 1 out of every 5 residents was born outside of the country. And there are very unique challenges to our immigrants and refugee communities in starting and growing businesses and accessing these programs. So I know I would love your thoughts on, just very briefly on what your experience has been on those challenges and what we could be doing better to make sure that we're reducing barriers and opening this up for those communities.
As you think through it, if it's more of a discussion, stay focused on the phase 3 for just a second, because you can enter through the immigration. It's a little bit hard for my background, because from an immigration perspective, it might be hard to get Defense Department clearances to do the classified work. So while being a Caucasian male and having a company proud of, et cetera, we have been able to hire a lot of people. We've grown from 2 states to, I think we're in 26 states now across the board. So we'd like to think that it's spread out at least more geographic. But as you think of the program in the future, whether it's capital and other things, I think you got to find that balancing act of when you're actually doing it to generate the start of a new program versus actually the hiring of those immigrants. I know we have hired significantly in Colorado recently. To us, immigrants are fine as long as they can work in that environment and have been an important part of growth for us. But you can understand the challenge of clearances and other things that might be associated with Defense Department programs.